All right, we are finishing up mixtures today, so we're just going to do a few more examples. It starts right where yesterday left off, so this is just day 2 of mixtures. Yesterday we did some pretty basic mixtures. We set up the canisters each time. You usually had one of the amounts, the other one we called X, and then the final one was X plus the amount of the other one. We're going to get a little deeper in it today, but it's still the same main idea. We're going to use the cans again. This one plus this one equals this one, and they're going to be word problems, so it'll be a lot like what we did yesterday. So we stopped at example 3, so we'll jump right in at example 4. So this is how many liters of pure, that's a key word there, pure ethanol must be added to 10 liters of 4% ethanol solution to produce a solution that is 20% ethanol. So we are going to set up our containers. Yeah, it's a liquid. It's
Isn't it like lighter fluid kind of?
Yeah, it's alcohol. It's like
It's not lighter. I mean, you can catch up
Besides,
it's some sort of alcohol. I know that. Like rubbing alcohol is like pretty high in ethanol. All right. Anyway, that's not important. The math part's important. So the first one says pure ethanol. 100%. So we have pure ethanol in the front, the solution in the middle. That's going to make our new solution or our mixture. Pure is 100%. Do we know how much pure ethanol we have? No, that's going to be our X. All right, what's the percent of the solution? 4%. Do we know how much of that we have? 10 liters. What do we want our final solution to be? 20%. And how much of that one do we have? X plus 10. Perfect. So this is a lot like the ones we did yesterday. What should I do next? So we have to change the percents to what? Decimals. What's 100% as a decimal?
1.
Just 1. You move it 2 spaces. We move the decimal 2 spaces, so if it was in the back, it'd be 1, so it's right behind the 1. So it's 1x plus, what's 4% as a decimal? 0.04 times 10. And in the back, what's 20% as a decimal? 0.2, and then that needs parentheses around it. So our equation looks like that. All right, then what?
don't distribute in the back and multiply in the front.
Yep, so we need to distribute in the back, and we need to multiply the 0.04 times 10. So 0.04 times 10 is just 0.4. Up front, you can see we dropped the 1. 1 times x is just x. And then we distribute the 0.20. 0.20 times x is just 0.2x. And 0.2 times 10 is just 2. Now what? Yeah, let's get our x's together. You could subtract 1x from each side. You'll end up with a negative. I like to avoid the negative, so I'm actually going to subtract 0.2x. So 1x minus 0.2x is going to be 0.8x plus 0.4 equals 2. So from here, I'm going to subtract the 0.4 from both sides. 0.8 equals 1.6. Divide.
X equals 2 acres.
X equals 2. What are your questions? And we're talking about liters here, so your final answer is going to be 2 liters.
What if you care if I
Example 5 says a grocer makes cereal by mixing oat cereal costing $2 per kilogram with dried fruit costing $9 per kilogram. How many kilograms of each are needed to make 60 kilograms of cereal costing 3.75 per kilogram? All right, so this is where it gets a little tricky. But we're going to start it the same way.
Oat cereal is 2 on the top, 2.00.
Okay, so we're going to start with oat cereal, dried fruit, and the mix, right? So oat cereal, fruit, mix. Now, let's just start writing out the things that we know. What do we know about the oat cereal?
$2.
It's gonna cost $2, right? Hold on one sec. I was hoping the $2 would pop up next. I'm gonna plug everything in and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so we know that the oat cereal is $2 per kilogram, correct? Now, we know the dried fruit is $9 per kilogram. We know the mixture is supposed to be $3.75. Do you see how it tells us how much we want the final mixture to be? So this needs to equal 60. We already know that. What we don't know is how much of each we have. So pick one of them and call it X. So in my example, I called the oat cereal, I called that the X. So let's say this was 10. Well, what would this be if they add to 60? 60 minus 10, which would be 50, right? If this was 20, this one would be 40. If this was 30, this one would be 30. So the way to set that up is the total, 60, take away whatever part ends up over here. So when you don't know either one of them, pick one of them, call it your X. The other one is the total, take away the X. You could have called this one X and this one 60 minus X. It wouldn't matter. Okay? Yeah, if you know the total amount, you're always going to take away the X part.
That makes sense.
All right, from here we write our equation just like normal. So it'll be, we don't have to move the decimal around. These aren't percents. These are actual dollars. So we'll have 2 times X plus 9 times that whole quantity equals 3.75 times 60. All right, what do I do next?
You multiply the 9 by 60 and then distribute the difference in the 5 and 60. Or multiply.
Distribute the what?
You multiply, you should multiply the 9 times 60 times x and 3.75 times 60.
Yeah, so you distribute the 9 and you multiply the 3.75 times 60. Because we have to multiply 9 by 60 and 9 times the x, keeping the minus sign in the middle. Now, here the solving gets a little different because you see how the x's are on the same side of the equal sign? So we can just combine like terms. What's 2x minus 9x? Minus 7x. So we have 540 minus 7x equals 225. Do you have a question? sure. All right, now what?
Subtract 5.
Yeah, we're going to subtract 540. It's going to give us a negative, that's fine because the coefficient with our x is negative. So when we divide, it'll end up with a positive. All right, so 225 minus 540 gives me 315. Both negative, so I'll end up with a positive, like I said. Does anyone know what 315 divided by 7 is? What? 45. Good. Now, the original question asked us how many of each, or how much of each. X was our amount for the oats, right? So if you have 45 kilograms of oats, you do 60 minus 45, that gives you how much fruit? So 60 minus 45 is 15. So 45 and 15. What are your questions?
Thought this was gonna be hard.
Some people find it challenging. All right, let's keep it going. So we're talking about a grocer again. A grocer, like, do you know what a grocer is? Like a guy who works at a grocery store. So a grocer wants to make, I guess it could be a girl too, someone who works at a grocery store. A grocer wants to mix peanuts costing $5 per kilogram with pretzels costing $8 per kilogram to make a 10 kilogram mixture that sells for $6 per kilogram. How much of each type should be mixed? So again, I know the total. He wants the whole mixture to be that amount, the 10 kilograms. All right, so set up our canisters. What are we mixing?
Peanuts and pretzels.
Peanuts and pretzels, and that's going to be our mixture. Sounds pretty delightful. All right, what do I know?
The mix needs to be 10 kilograms.
The mix is going to be 10 kilograms, okay?
Sold for 6 per kilogram.
So I need 6 and the 10 in the mixture, right?
Yours is different than ours.
That would be 5 times X.
Hold on.
Peanuts.
So we'll have 5 for the peanuts. We'll call that the X, the unknown.
Times X minus 10.
10 minus X. Good. Okay, now what are you saying yours is different? What
A
is-
word problem.
What is yours say?
It says, a grocer wants to mix nuts costing 5 per kg with nuts costing 8 per kg to make a 10 kg mixture. It's just all nuts. It doesn't say anything about pretzels.
Oh, the numbers are the same though?
Yeah.
That's fine. It'll work out the same way.
You could say it's peanuts and almonds.
Right, or you could cross out one of the words nuts, the $8 bag, and make it pretzels. All right, so any questions on where these numbers came from?
Why is it 10 minus X and not X minus 10?
Because we know that we're going to have a total of 10. So no matter how many peanuts you end up with, the pretzels is going to be 10 minus that number.
Oh.
So like if I said you had 2 kilograms of peanuts, how many pretzels would you have? That's 8, right? That's not 2 minus 10. It's 10 minus 2. You start with the total and you take away whatever goes to the first canister. All right, so I'm going to write my equation. I have 5 times X. I have 8 times that quantity, 10 minus X. That's going to equal 6 times 10. What? What are your questions so far? All right, this is what we're going to solve. So I need to distribute the 8. 8 times 10 is 80. Minus 8 times X is 8X. And 6 times 10 is... Okay, so my next line looks like this. Once again, we'll end up with a negative coefficient for our x. It's not a big deal. Do 5x minus 8x. It's
Negative 3x.
negative 3x.
80 minus 3x equals 60.
Good.
Subtract 88.
Yep, then we're going to subtract 80 from both sides. What is 60 minus 80? Negative 20. Divide it all by negative 3. X equals 6 2/3. Now you have to do 10 minus 6 2/3 to find the pretzels. This is the peanuts.
Is it okay on the test? What if they have to look at, like, when you over?
Yep, improper fractions are usually what I prefer. In word problems, though, it's nice to get like a mixed number. But when you subtract that, you get 3 1/3 kilograms. That's our pretzel answer. Now, we did a summary for your notes yesterday. Do you remember what we said? Mixture. So if you want to do another summary, that's fine. If not, we did summarize it yesterday. Do you guys have any questions?